Hi everybody. We are now going to begin Tea Time 2, our second conversation with Dr. Albert Somwitz, Dr. Seneca Vaught, and we're having a pretty serious conversation. We would like you to join with us. Recently we saw the movie Straight Outta Compton, and we did it deliberately to have a conversation about it. And it's fascinating, and by the way, we hope that you could kind of follow our conversation and look at how we're just sitting and talking. That's an expression of what we're trying to do, just get people to sit and have serious conversations. So Dr. V, what did you bring out of the movie?
Well, I was surprised, first of all, that Straight Outta Compton was doing as well as it was in the box office. And I hadn't heard of the movie. I didn't even know of its release, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. And when I went to see the film, I really understood what is resonating with such a large swath of the American public. I think one of the key themes that the movie is bringing out is there is a different experience that youth, particularly youth, urban, inner city youth, have with the police and with law enforcement and with really society at large. That I don't think has been given proper voice in the mainstream media. And I think what the director did quite skillfully is he wound some of those themes into the music and the rise of hip-hop, particularly the gangster rap genre in the early 1990s. And I think he really effectively showed what makes that music so appealing to such a large swath of American youth, but also youth around the world.
And I saw that, and I also saw different perspectives. For example, and again, full disclosure here, I do ride-alongs with the Cobb County Police Department, and very obviously sympathetic to the police. And what I saw in the movie was the police not depicted in any way, in any sympathetic way. And I think it's a real issue, because on one hand, a large majority of crime that occurs in inner cities is black-on-black crime, that people really are victimized. And so in those instances, who is called? I mean, we need a police department. And so I understand that if you have a negative experience early on, as we all may have had in life, whatever the example is, that's going to affect us moving ahead. And so I really don't know, how do we get out of that conundrum, if you will, that difficulty that on one hand, we need a viable police department to protect people, and at the same time, they're most effective when citizens help them and call in and say, so-and-so, I'm a witness. And some of the lyrics, or F the police, whatever, if I'm a 10-year-old growing up in that environment, then I think I'm going to learn, perhaps incorrectly, that this should be my attitude towards the police. So how do we, that's a struggle, I think.
Yeah, I do too. I think that in addition to those themes with the police, that there's another theme worthwhile examining, or somewhat juxtaposing, and that is the relationships between African American men themselves. I think one of the themes within the movie, it depicted some of these tensions between the police, but it showed this type of brotherhood or camaraderie among these young men in NWA, and that came up in one of the most stunning scenes in the movie when they were down at Jerry Heller's studio recording. The police came and kind of broke them up, but you see this camaraderie amongst them and Jerry Heller developing, and there's a black officer and these other police officers. So part of what I think the message was in that is that there's a difference of experience, and it can be generational, it can cut across class lines, and it can also be cultural. And I think it's somewhat unfair to expect in this movie on NWA, where they're simply attempting to document their story, to really speak to generations of this problem that's been developing in inner cities between police departments and young urban African American, Latino American men. So I think there's much to learn, but I think perhaps those people looking for a resolution of all that within that bill might be disappointed.
Well, and for us, it's a conversation starter.
Yeah.
And for example, when I was seeing, there was one black police officer, so in a way, at that scene you're talking about, so in a way, you might think that, that he would have maybe a different insight or a different take. But again, it's a movie, and they showed him being, I think, maybe more aggressive because he was trying to, I'm not quite sure what, I mean, just trying to show that he was one of the police and not one of the group. So, in a way, there's probably a number of issues, but certainly what makes sense is what I think people call community policing, which is have police go to schools, go to churches, just go out with the people. And the funny thing is, when I do ride-alongs with the police, they're not, everyone is different. So some of the police people, men and women, that are older, younger, and some, when I ride along with them for a few hours, they want to talk about their hobbies. They want to talk about what they do when they're not police. Some of them want to talk about their family. Others want to talk about what we're doing. So what you discover is that there's not one generic police officer. There's people who are police officers. So a lot of work to do, and we're going to end this segment, but I must tell you that I'm frightened. I'm really frightened the way the country's going. This weekend there was a police officer shot in the back in Texas. We don't know the details, but the country seems to be getting more to the extremes on either side, and we're using violence more readily, and that's a great concern to me. So we need to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. We invite you to be part of this conversation, and maybe we can come up with a solution, or a better one now than saying let's arm everybody. So we're signing off for now. This is the end of our second Tea Time.